Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go straight into it. Back in June 2023, a UK logistics company, KNP Logistics, they were hit by a ransomware. The Akiba ransomware group hit them, and they lost a lot of money. While it's not reported how much they actually lost, the fact is, because of that attack, and also of the challenging market conditions, plus the fact that they could not secure emergency investment due to the ransomware attack, they were forced to go bankrupt in less than 3 months. In 2022, Finnish mental health provider organization, Vastaamo, they had a data breach where the attackers stole personal data from their patients. Now, when we're talking about mental health provider, it means psychologists. That means all the dirty secrets from their patients were actually stolen. What the attacker did was they did not demand for ransom from Vastaamo. They demanded for ransom from the patients. One patient, they were demanding up to 200 bitcoins. While it's small, Vastaamo had thousands of patients. That amounted to quite a fair bit. But the bigger damage to Vastaamo was not the ransomware that was demanded from the patients. It was the reputation damage that Vastaamo actually suffered from. And within a year, they filed for bankruptcy. Then we have another company, Ubit, a South Korean cryptocurrency exchange organization that did a lot of buying and selling of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. In 2017, they were actually attacked by ransomware. And at the same time, they also lost, the attacker managed to steal up to 4,000 Bitcoins, which at that point of time amounted to about 73 million US dollars. There was a huge loss. But the problem was that they did not learn from this particular attack, because at the very same year, they were attacked for a second time and incurred even larger losses. Now, the loss was so significant that not only Ubit had to go bankrupt, even their parent company had to declare for bankruptcy as well. Now, this is what we're talking about when we talk about cyber resiliency, right? It is the fact that cyber resiliency is a concept that brings together business continuity, brings together operational resiliency as well as information security to ensure that when the eventual attack happens, your organization is able to anticipate, able to withstand, and able to recover. Now, the key word here is withstand and recover, because we know we are no longer talking about if we are going to be attacked, we are talking about when we get attacked. Now, the point here is the whole concept behind cyber resiliency is that when you suffer a cyber attack, are you able to survive? The previous 3 examples that I shared showed organizations that were not able to survive a cyber attack. Within 3 months, they had to go down. Within 1 year, they had to go down. This is a very common scenario, and we are seeing more and more of this happening as we go along. Now, if you were to look up Google, as most of us security professionals do, it is very easy for you to find many different ways for you to enhance your cyber resiliency. The most common that I found so far always combines these 5 steps into the best practices for you to enhance your cyber resiliency. So we're talking about things like risk assessment, implementing security controls, transform detection to response, minimize disruption, and maximize recovery. Again, we're talking about the same thing. And forge your human firewall with cybersecurity awareness and training. Now, it sounds very easy, but as we know, in a lot of situations, most organizations suffer from very common challenges that you may see not just in your organization, but in many other organizations as well. This includes things like lack of resources. Now, I'm not talking about money just yet, right? What sort of resources am I talking about? Do you have policies that you need for you to manage cybersecurity events? Do you have SOPs? Do you have controls? Do you have compliance requirements for you to be able to manage cybersecurity attacks? These sort of resources, the resources that determines how you react to a particular cyber event. While most organizations find it easy to say that, yes, I have all these policies in place, then they are faced with the next challenge. Do you have the expertise? Now, I always say having the money to buy technology is not enough for you to secure your organizations. Why? Because the technology alone is not going to save you. Knowing how to use the technology effectively, knowing when to use the technology effectively is just as important. But that's not all. When we talk about expertise, we are also talking about whether you have the capability for you to understand what comes out of the technology, whether you have the capabilities for you to find out how you were attacked, whether you are able to understand how you can recover from the attack and how you can safeguard yourself from the next attack. Many of us suffer from this problem right now because, as you know, globally there is a large shortage of cybersecurity skills, not just here in the Philippines, but everywhere as well. If you so happen to manage to solve this problem, then there's always going to be the age-old problem of cost. Right? Is your organization today budgeting enough for you to beef up your cybersecurity operations? Is your management today providing you with sufficient budget for you to buy the technology that you need, to hire the people that you need, to run the operations that you need? More often than not, these are some of the challenges that we face in our daily operations when it comes to not just talking about cyber security operations, but also about cyber resiliency as well. So the thing is, where do we find help? If we go back to the 5 steps to improving our cyber resiliency, we can often find that there are a lot of guidance that we can refer to when it comes to how we can actually start doing this and what's the best way for us to do this. Now, the most common guidance that you can find is the NIST CSF cybersecurity framework, especially the new one, the 2.0, where there's governance involved in the picture as well. If you were to look at the 5 steps on how to improve cyber resiliency and you compare that against the NIST CSF 2, you can see that it maps really, really well. All right? Risk assessment talks about identifying what are your assets that you need to protect, what are the risks involved in those assets as well. We talk about implementing security controls, which is providing protection around your environment. Then we talk about detection and response, being able to detect, being able to respond to cyber attacks. Then, of course, the most important here is recover. What are the strategies behind recovery? And then finally, the newest one, which is govern. What are the SOPs you need? What are the best practices that you need to follow? So this in itself is a very common guideline or a very simple guidance that a lot of organizations are actually adopting for them to actually enhance their cyber resiliency. But NIST is not the only framework that you can use. There are many others that you can refer to as well. For example, MITRE has this thing called the Cyber Resiliency Engineering Framework that introduces the concept of cyber resiliency goals, objectives, and techniques. This framework talks about how and what you can do to improve your cyber resiliency. Then in the UK, there is the Cyber Security Assessment Framework. Now, this is equally just as important because it then tells us how we can actually measure our cyber resilience to ensure that whatever strategy that we have in place works well. Then if you want something that's a bit more technical, that talks straight to the bits and the bytes of the problem, we have things like the CIS critical security controls. Previously, they had 20 controls. Now they streamlined that to about 18, but these are very technical guidelines that tells you what you need to protect and how you need to secure it. So there are many different references that you can use for you to enhance your cyber resilience. There's also things like the NIST 2, which is more applicable in the UK, in Europe. There's also things like ISO 27001 that you can also use as reference for you to enhance your cyber resilience as well. But that's not all. When it comes down to it, when you need help, where can you find it? Now, very simply put, I'm just going to be using the NIST 2 as a reference. Now, when it comes down to it, there are many organizations out there that is able to assist you enhance your cyber resiliency. I generally classify that under two categories, the professional services organizations and the managed services organizations. So what sort of help can you get out of it? So if we look at it from the professional services, it's going to be things like assessments, advisory, planning, design. And from a managed services, it's always about outsourcing specific functions, right? And resource augmentation. So let's break it down. From an identity, protect, and also govern point of view, what can you get? It allows you to be able to engage third party to help you with consulting, help you design and improve your weaknesses in terms of your overall infrastructure, be able to provide you with recommendations of what sort of technology you need. And most importantly, I think this is something that a lot of organizations, especially those medium-sized organizations, they always ignore. Your layer 8 weakness, your user weakness, training becomes a very key component, because we're not just talking about training on how to use technology. We're not talking about training on how to look out for malware, how to detect malware, how to do reverse engineering. No, we're talking about cybersecurity awareness, because your biggest weakness at the end of the day is not going to be your lack of technology. It's going to be your lack of user awareness, where your users become your weakest link. At the other end of the spectrum, where we talk about things like detect, response, and recover, you have options where you can go to things like managed detection and response, like what we offer in Sangfor. You can also talk about things like incident response, or even DR as a service, disaster recovery as a service. Options that allows you to be able to reduce your risk by sharing this risk with another party and having them run the critical operations for you. Now, if you notice here, I stated here managed detection and response. I'm not talking about SOC, because let's face it, in most operations that we run today, not all of us require a full-blown SOC. But we do require the function to be able to detect and respond to threats, right? So these are all some of the options that many organizations have in front of them to be able to help them improve their cyber resilience and their security operations in general. But as always, most organizations, when it comes to talking about engaging a third party for services, it's sort of like a very taboo word, right? Services and outsourcing. But the reality of it is this. There are multiple benefits to engaging a third party. Why? First of all, cost. Let me just give you a very simple example. In all the projects that we have done in MDR services, the price for our customer to engage us to run MDR is about only 25% of the total cost it would have incurred them to build their own SOC and hire their own SOC operators. So cost is a very important factor, because it allows you to be able to engage and immediately start working on the functions that you need at a fraction of the price that you need to pay if you were to build it on your own. Then you gain access to security expertise. In most situations, the problem that we face is that we want to build a SOC, we want to have a good operations team, but we cannot find the right people to run it. This is where it will be beneficial for you, because not just get access to the security expertise that you need, you also don't have to worry about the hiring and the training and the overheads that comes together with it. It also allows you to keep your focus on your business. When you do digital transformation, when you do digitalization, you still need your security expertise to help you improve that. Having these options for you to actually engage an external party with your services allows you to use your own resources on your own business relevant activities. Then we talk about the best thing about it is that when you engage a third party, you get to choose based on what you need, based on what people are offering, based on the price that you're willing to pay. So you have options to choose from, and you're not stuck in a pigeonhole where everything has to be according to what people are offering you. You get to choose, you get the flexibility to want to be able to do what you want with it. And of course, we're talking about, last but not least, being able to have the scalability and flexibility to improve that as you go along. Because not all security providers or not all service providers are just looking at it as a static point of view. They are also improving. And as they improve, your security posture or your security resiliency will also improve as well. So, at the end of the day, it is important for us to recognize while we want to be able to retain our own expertise as much as possible, in the environment that we are living in today, it has become a very big challenge for us to do this. So it is always very important to, first of all, know what is the right strategy that you require for you to build the cyber resilience strategy for your organization. It's not going to be the same with everyone else. It needs to be unique to your organization. And then seeking external assistance is not a bad option. It gives you the flexibility that you need for you to be able to do what you want. And of course, striking a right balance between having in-house expertise and outsourcing some of the non-critical expertise to an external party could actually mean a lot of difference in terms of how you survive a cyber attack. Now, if that makes any sense to you at all, feel free to come and speak to me further about this topic. My booth is just right next to everyone that's sitting here. And I'm more than happy to share with you the experiences that we have seen in terms of our MDR services. All right, with that, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Sir William. Okay, so that's a lot to take in. And we're going to be showing you a bit. He did mention his takeaways, which would be the strategy, which we will need. And of course, gaining external assistance and finding that right balance between the in-house and outsourcing. So let's see if we can find that. There you go. So you do have options. You get to choose what you need to build cyber resilience, how to enhance. So this is what he kept mentioning over and over again. Risk assessment, implement security controls, transform detection to response, disruption. Okay, so these are the things that you will need. And as he said, he is more than willing to answer any questions that you may have. So cost, focus on your business, or what you should look for, of course, the cost, specialties or expertise. This allows you to focus on your business, giving you multiple choices and allowing you to continue to be flexible as the time goes on.